Welcome, everyone, to the Chris Parrish Podcast, episode 132. That's right, One Direction. But first things first, we must thank everyone who is responsible for the Chris Parrish Podcast. That is Turnbuckle Studios. So please, go ahead and hit up turnbucklestudios.org for all of your Turnbuckle Studios inquiries, whether it's to help and join the team, whether it is to shop or whether it's to check out latest episodic shows or even just meet the team. That is all available at turnbucklestudios.org. Want to thank Dubby, as they are now a proud sponsor of the Chris Parrish Podcast. So go ahead and go to dubby.gg, hit the code word Parrish10 and get yourself 10% off at checkout. And let's not forget Beardcade YEG, the official establishment in Edmonton, Alberta, that shows AEW and WWE pay-per-views, PLEs, for absolutely free. And you can be sure to check them out for SummerSlam's Night 1 and Night 2. We have Joseph coming in from YouTube saying, hello. Thank you for joining. We're here to talk about the direction aspect. And I'm going to share my thoughts on the certain direction that I would imply, whether it is for WWE or some of the current superstars. And first things first, I'm going to start with the obvious. I'm going to start with what's been in the news recently, and that is the tag team division. Now, the conscious of everyone, the obvious opinion of everyone is if you cared so much about making a tag team division, great. Why release or let go certain established acts as the White Six were gone, the Motor City Machine Guns were gone? Why let those two acts go if you only come back with wanting to help the tag team division? Well, sadly, they got their reasons. Whether it was TKO, whatever the case may be, I'm not worried about the reason anymore. What I am worried about is how do we get the tag team division back on track, back with a little of that, as a viewer, I need to watch this tag team division. You know, during the WrestleMania season time, the women's tag team title scene was flourishing. You had a lot of teams. In fact, you even had some of the top individual acts in a tag team, whether it was Rhea Ripley and Io Sky together, whether it's Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss together. You then saw Lash Legend come up, pairing with Nia Jax. You also saw Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, and right there you had the ingredients. They picked up where they left off. They removed Rhea Ripley, and they got Fatal Influence. Then you had Brie Bella join forces with Paige, and now they are the champions. And yes, as the women's tag team division runs primarily on SmackDown, we still don't have the same intrigue on the men's side, on the tag team division. And I look at the obvious. You have two sets of tag team titles, and in a very thin tag team division, you have cut it even thinner by having two sets of tag team titles. So what I would do is at SummerSlam, in a winner-take-all ladder match, I would put Vision against Damian Priest and R-Truth. Winner-take-all. And I'm not going to use the word unified or undisputed. I am just going to say you are officially the only WWE Tag Team Champions That's right. I think the best way for right now to bring that tag team division back up in a prominence way is to slash one set of the men's tag team titles. Now, we can all have our opinions. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say keep the SmackDown ones because of how they look. It is what it is. Whatever. The most important thing here is how we get back this division. And I think by doing that, you then have one set of titles where you have War Raiders, you have the Street Profits, the Usos, Los Garza. You could even use acts like The Miz and Kit Wilson. You could still use Austin Theory and Logan Paul when Logan Paul comes back. And here is a tag team I think would benefit both individuals, and that is pairing Dirty Dom Mysterio with JD McDonough and allowing these two to run as a team. Now, I know Dom is currently the AAA Mega Champion, but I don't think he is in a position to run for a singles title. He just lost the Intercontinental Championship to Penta a while back, and now we're at a point where we don't see him getting back that title. He's definitely not going for a world title right now. So where do we put him in a place where it's compelling, we care? Keep him in that team with JD McDonough. They're not fighting each other's battles, they're fighting their own together, and it forms a little bit more unity between the group. So I think Dom and JD would be a welcome addition to the tag team division. And then right in the back pocket, you can always put Penta and Rey Fenix if you truly need that pop and that big time feel. You also have the Creed brothers, and you also have Akira Tozawa and Otis whenever you need something. So there's a lot of acts in the tag team division, but once you have two titles, they're spread thinner. But once they're put together, now that is the DNA of a tag team division you can roll with, especially when you have acts like the Usos, like the Street Profits, and even the Lucha Bros if you want. But then you also have your up-and-coming acts with the Creed brothers. You can then finally have a decision with Los Garza. And you even can do something with JD Dom, Theory, and Paul, and it would work. So my big direction change for the tag team division is go to one universal represented on both Raw and SmackDown set of tag team championships. And just think about the collective cluster you-know-whats that can ensue when a WrestleMania season or a SummerSlam season pops up. Another thing I would do is I would start using your Saturday night main events. And I know coming in September, we're going to have Sunday night main event, which I think I speak for everyone. That's an easy fix. Sunday Night Heat. Just make it Sunday Night Heat. You want to do one of those shows on Saturday? Well, you got Saturday night's main event. On Sunday, it should be Sunday Night Heat. But use these shows to help grow your mid-card storylines. Help them grow the backstories to tournaments like a King and Queen of the Ring. Use this as an opportunity to really help make the viewer feel that their television matters I say this because it seemed like this year both King and Queen of the Ring tournaments were thrown together. We knew they were coming up. But, and I'm not going to say these fatal four-way matches in the quarterfinals were bad, because they weren't. But I still think this could have been salvaged if you started this earlier with the one-on-one tournament and you had these qualifying matches and you were using these at a Saturday night's main event. You were using some of these international loops where the live event you saw LA Knight defeat Jimmy Uso to qualify for the King of the Ring. Like, those are things that we like, and you can always do those updates during the broadcast and use your social media platforms to help with this. You can even release the matches on your YouTube page. And this would really get people more interested in a tournament like this, because now you're along for the ride with a certain individual. Now I understand the chaos that ensues with the fatal four ways, but you're just opening yourself up to obvious similarities with matches, as we saw that four-corner Tower of Doom spot almost in every match. But also you know you're going to have the interference because there's no disqualification in a fatal four-way. So I think that's kind of where I would go. On the flip side, I also have an ulterior idea for both King and Queen of the Ring. And that is, you select 8 representation spots on Raw, 8 on SmackDown, 8 on NXT. And you then create 1 representation from each brand, and they meet in the final in a elimination triple threat match to determine the King and Queen of the Ring. So the only triple threat match or multi-man or multi-woman match would be the final, and it's very reminiscent of back when Survivor Series was Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT, and we almost saw the triple threat kind of be the narrative of that show, and you put it back here. And with the elimination factor, you know that you have to go through a war to be the winner. So by the time that winner is crowned, literally and figuratively, that person has earned the right to challenge for a world title at SummerSlam. So we have Boar's Nest with Bubba Duke coming in saying, good afternoon, y'all. How you doing? So those are 2 big things I would do from WWE point. I would remove 1 set of the tag team titles on the men's side, and to really help bolster what they already do have, and then use that as a way to help rebuild that tag team division. And then I would alter the way you do your King and Queen of the Ring with either adding 3 brackets, 1 being Raw, 1 being SmackDown, 1 being NXT, or start using your live events and your Saturday night main events and social media better to help advertise and showcase qualifying matches. That way, if you start with 64 and you go all the way down to 1, people care that much more when the winner is there. Another structural thing I would do with the WWE that I think that is very much needed, I would focus in on wrestling on WrestleMania weekend. We all know we have SmackDown on a Friday. We know we have nights 1 and 2 of WrestleMania on the Saturday and Sunday. The Hall of Fame ceremony right after SmackDown is too much. It is why I would then suggest you move the Hall of Fame ceremony to the weekend where you have Stand and Deliver. So if Stand and Deliver is on a Saturday, the Hall of Fame ceremony is on the Sunday. If Stand and Deliver is on the Sunday, you put the Hall of Fame ceremony on that Saturday, and you just move the weekend. That way, you're not worried about performing on a show and then going to a ceremony. As the viewer, you don't get tired from watching 3-hour SmackDown and then another 3-hour Hall of Fame. But isn't it ironic that on one night you celebrate the people and their contributions to this business, and then on the other night you get to watch and witness the birth and potentially the uprising of the future of your business all in the same weekend? So I think that would be just a beautiful counterpoint where you celebrate the past and you embrace the future. Because isn't the tagline ending in WWE about together? And it's the present that gets to do both. So you got your past, your present, and your future in one weekend. I think that would be a better suited idea. So already I have 3 ideas I would install with WWE right now. But if you believe that I need a little bit of assistance with my train of thought, well, you're in luck, because you can visit turnbucklestudios.org and you can hit the join button and you can let us know how you can help assist Turnbuckle Studios and become a part of the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
A Turnbuckle Affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today, because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
If by chance this is a show you're enjoying, talking about the directional aspect of a company or even superstars, let me know, because I am 100% willing to do this again. In fact, I just may. But let's continue on and let's talk about certain individuals or acts in WWE. I'm going to start off with the main act of WWE right now, Roman Reigns. He's a polarizing figure. He's a very important figure. He is currently the World Heavyweight Champion. And there's people out there, I'm included, that I don't want to see the bloodline again. I would like to see something else. How do we move on from the bloodline? It was great. Let's not tarnish it by doing it longer. But we're getting the bloodline. So is it fun? How do we make this what it is? We know the bloodline right now has a little bit of their foot in a lot of different doorsteps. One being the MFTs. So why not bring the MFTs over to Raw? We're already there, so why not just bring them over? No, I'm not saying bring the MFTs over and leave that gaping hole on SmackDown. No. I would make a trade of the American Alpha, Creed Brothers, Chad Gable, trade for Solo, for Talatonga, and for Tamatonga. And they go on a Raw. And then they go after Roman, Jimmy, and Jay. And maybe in this weird act, you have Jacob Fatu, who's in the middle of it all. The Solo Sikoa promo, or at least backstage segment with Jacob Fatu, had me thinking. This was just on SmackDown this past Friday. And he explained why he didn't want to go back to Roman. And it made all the sense in the world. And for the first time, it was hard to argue the logic of Solo Sikoa. He was passionate, he was firm, and he was motivated for what he was doing. And that showed a lot of good qualities. Roman Reigns seems to be going back in his way. As much as he wants to say he's doing things or trying to do things in the good way, he's still sending the Usos to SmackDown to do things. He's still asking them and demanding them to do things. Now, whether that's good intentions or whether that's Roman just being that person who's always using others around him for his success, that's up for debate and up for a different conversation. But it doesn't sound very positive, and it doesn't sound like the right reason. So why don't you use this as a way to flip the two? Roman, Jimmy, and Jay, they now become the villains. They're the established act on Raw. They're the World Heavyweight Champion. You can even do something with the Usos. Have Solo, have Talatonga and Tamatonga become the heroes of this story. And now everything has switched. The perception of who to trust for Jacob Fatu has completely switched. He's more conflicted than ever, and maybe he even decides to go his own route. And with the sudden emerging of the rumors about Zilla Fatu potentially being closer of joining WWE, could you imagine if Jacob Fatu decides, I'm not going to grab the hand that pulls, I'm going to reach out and put an extra hand on the table. Zilla Fatu joins up with Jacob Fatu, and now they're one man short of this trio versus trio. On top of the landscape, we also have seen Seth Rollins kind of get in the middle of all this, and so has the Vision. But I would rather keep Seth Rollins and even the Street Profits more zeroed in with the Vision. And now you have two powerful powerful main event feuds happening on Raw, and it would be very hard to miss an episode when you have all this on. So the main plan here would be obviously to add a different level of star power to Solo Sikoa. We all know how good he is and how versatile he is, but it feels like in this MFT group, they're not taken seriously by any means. But we remember when he joined the Bloodline to begin with, he was Jacob Fatu before we knew Jacob Fatu. And I'm just speaking from a WWE sense. So we can get back there. On the flip side, we have Jacob Fatu now. So why not use Jacob Fatu as well? So I think the two big ones here is I would love to see Solo Sikoa be brought in to the main storylines again, and as well I like to see Jacob Fatu remain in these and not take a backseat to a Bloodline angle. And kind of keeping in tow with all of this, the one man who's been very vocal, passionately vocal about not wanting the Bloodline at all is LA Knight. So if he was to win Money in the Bank, could you imagine the scene where we have family chaos, whether it's the MFTs, whether it's the Bloodline, whether it's Jacob Fatu, could even be Zilla Fatu if he's there as well. But just imagine if there's absolute carnage between all these men, and the one person who'd be able to rip the ultimate prize, the World Heavyweight Championship, away from this scene is the most vocal man about not wanting this scene to even exist in the first place. Imagine if LA Knight not only won the Money in the Bank contract, but imagine if he stole the World Heavyweight Championship away from the Samoan family entirely. That would be your way of making LA Knight just that much bigger of a star. And with a world championship reign, he is now established as a main draw in WWE. Because the ultimate goal here is storytelling. We all know LA Knight has been very vocal about the Bloodline to the point where it's helped bring out distrust with Jacob Fatu and the Usos. He's even shown by acts that he is someone who trusts the Usos away from Bloodline-related matters. But once the Usos are back into Bloodline-related matters, he has a problem. He's very stern and even just a little, let's just say he's a little stubborn at fault about this, because he ain't gonna fall for the same thing twice. I think that would be a very intriguing Raw to watch. Next up, I think I do want to talk about Cody Rhodes. But before I talk about Cody Rhodes, I think we are going to check out just the amazing content that you can find on our shop. So if you need a chance to browse the catalog of Turnbuckle Studios, hitting up the Turnbuckle shop is the place to be. All you have to do is go back to turnbucklestudios.org and hit the shop function. Select what store, aka show, you want to search for. And if by chance you want to get one of those beautiful Chris Bears podcast shirts, hoodies, hats, bags, whatever the case may be, let me know. You'll get not only a plug on the show, but maybe, just maybe, we'll add you into our next shop commercial. But for the meantime, check this out.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
Before that, we mentioned Cody Rhodes. I think one of the biggest rises of star powers we've seen in the last few years is just how quickly Cody Rhodes went from just the newest guy that came here. Now he's a 3-time world champion. I think we all can agree that it's time for Cody Rhodes to move away from the world championship picture for now. And whether it's him losing a championship at SummerSlam, or whether it's him dropping the championship to either Gunther or potentially someone else, I think right now that would favor the longevity of Cody Rhodes, especially as a babyface. Now, we all know that Cody Rhodes has an issue with Gunther. We also know that he has an issue with Sami Zayn. And just waiting, we know we're going to see Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton back. And even CM Punk, who's rumored to be a part of the SmackDown brand. I don't dislike the idea of a feud with CM Punk. In fact, I embrace it. But I don't think it's needed for the championship here. And the reason why I don't think it's needed for the championship is because we're watching one man who's very polarizing. You either love or you hate him, and that is CM Punk. But you pay to see him because when he has a microphone, he hooks you in every single way. And then, most recently, in the main event of Night 2 at WrestleMania, he also puts an even better performance in the ring. Cody Rhodes is no different. We all know that he is great on the microphone. He is passionate on the microphone. He can go out there and perform with anyone. It's why he's a multi-time world champion, and it's why he's a face of the WWE. But sometimes a struggle within really changes a man, and we all know the references to Homelander with Cody Rhodes. But it's also Batman. You can live long enough as a hero, but you can also live long enough to see yourself become a villain. So we all know, whether it's Randy Orton, whether it's Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, there's a list, Drew McIntyre. There's a lot of people that have seen Cody become champion, and their relationships in the show aspect have ended. At what point is Cody Rhodes' breaking point. And I think that's exactly what we need if we were to ever get a heel Cody Rhodes. And I do think we should get a heel Cody Rhodes. But I don't think it's right now. But I do think it should be by next year's SummerSlam at the very, very latest. CM Punk, I think, is a perfect dance partner to bring that out of him, because one thing CM Punk will do, and we saw this against Roman Reigns, is he challenges you on every single thing. Personal, professional, technical, creativity, everything. He challenges you. He gets in your head. He plays the mind games. So could CM Punk be the catalyst of Cody Rhodes really looking within? And I do think we should almost keep these two occupied for almost the entirety of 2027. Very much how we saw CM Punk with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre do this with Cody Rhodes. And again, you don't need the championship, because Gunther can definitely take this championship. And then we can see whether it's Sami Zayn or whether it's Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre come back, and you're off and running with something right there. And again, you have two great storylines to headline your SmackDown. So I don't think Cody Rhodes needs to win a Royal Rumble, King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, anything. In fact, I might even say he should almost be the favorite and lose more often than not in 2027. And I think that is the best way to go with Cody Rhodes if we want to see that true character change that we all want to see. Liv Morgan is always going to be a very intriguing character for me. I think she's on her way to become one of the better draws in the female division. But it's also the surrounding members of Judgment Day that I worry about, because the longer she's a part of the Judgment Day, we're not going to see the true potential of Raquel Rodriguez. We're not going to get a proper story with the Prodigy and Roxanne Perez unless we can bat these two as soon of right effing now. And it's why I do think we will get a Raquel Rodriguez Liv Morgan final for the Queen of the Ring. In fact, this is one of the better ideas I think I do have. And that is Liv Morgan showcases through this tournament what we already know. And that is her inability to understand what's around her when she's doing Liv Morgan things. And that is, right now, her character seems to make just about everything about her. She shared no compassion when Roxanne Perez lost her fatal four-way match for the Queen of the Ring. And she quickly turned the narrative from Raquel winning and being champion back to her in front of everyone in the Judgment Day. I do think Liv Morgan is going to get caught eventually, and I don't think it's Roxanne Perez. I think it's Raquel Rodriguez. because the silent ones are always the most dangerous, and we don't hear Raquel talk very often. I do think we're going to get a scene with Liv and Roxanne saying, if you just make sure I win Queen of the Ring, I'll make sure you become the next Women's Intercontinental Champion. But this is overheard by Raquel. And now Raquel sees Liv Morgan in a different light. Someone who's willing to do anything to get ahead, even step over one of the people who's had her back and has protected her this entire time. And that has been Raquel Rodriguez. So I do think we see at Night of Champions Roxanne Perez do what I think we all want to see, and that is walk out when the opportunity comes of helping Raquel or Liv in their match. She stands on her own 2 feet and says, no, this is about the two of you. You two figure it out. And then this is just a distraction enough for Liv to get upset that she's not getting her way. And she loses. She then blames Roxanne Perez. And just when she's about to stab Roxanne Perez in the back, Raquel gets there first and challenges Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. And the nail in the coffin here is Roxanne Perez is the reason Liv Morgan loses her championship at SummerSlam to Raquel Rodriguez. And it's in this moment Liv Morgan is kicked out of Judgment Day. Or we see Roxanne and Raquel walk out of the Judgment Day. That way we can keep Liv and Dom together, but also in this way we could really get a direction for Raquel, for Roxanne, and for Liv. Because if you ask me who would be a great person for Liv to bring in to help her with this, well, we've been hearing that there could be more potential call-ups after or around SummerSlam. Tatum Paxley, I think, would be a perfect person. And could you imagine if we have Liv and Dom, maybe even put Tatum and JD together? I think this would be a very much kind of a bad guy, bad girl, but you double them up. So those are kind of things that I thought would be very well. You could then have Raquel Rodriguez stay alone as a champion. A new competitor would be very, very good for that division. And this is when you can, bring back, Stephanie back here in the title picture. You can move up Becky Lynch into the title picture as she needs something that's not Intercontinental Championship. Ivy Nile can then become someone who's in that Intercontinental Championship. And if by chance you do end up moving Maxine Dupree onto the side of Austin Theory, she is another villain that then could play a part in that Intercontinental picture as She is a former Intercontinental Champion herself. But it also allows you to do something a little bit different and move one of Bailey or Lyra onto that side, or even bring in somebody else who is fitting that mold. So I think that kind of a shakeup would be very well invited onto the Raw's women's side. And I'd like to see Raquel Rodriguez actually get that shot of being the main draw on the women's side of things too. So that would be my big female direction change, and that is, let's blow up the trio of the women in the Judgment Day, because I'd be here for it. I'd be here for the Liv Morgan and Raquel match. I'd be here for the Liv and Roxanne Perez match. In fact, I'd even be here for a Liv with someone else. I'm putting Tatum Paxley in this spot versus Raquel and Roxanne. Because the one thing, too, that when Roxanne Perez came in, she was immediately replacing Liv Morgan in that tag team. And we all know how good Raquel and Roxanne are as a tag team. So if by chance we can get that chemistry with Liv and Tatum, just imagine how good these matches would be. And then right there, Liv and Tatum can go after the tag team titles. You can even have Liv go after the Intercontinental Championship and become a Grand Slam champion. Be one of the few that could say, I've been world champion, I've been Intercontinental champion, I've been tag champion, I've won a Royal Rumble, I've won a Crown Jewel championship. There's a lot of things that Liv Morgan can say. Now, I announced last week that we'll be doing a watch party for Great American Bash on Sunday, June 28th. There could be more to that. As we all know, Slammiversary is also that day as well. Could see a little bit of a double dip there, which just shows that there is no shortage of entertainment and content with Turnbuckle Studios. We got you every single night of the week. If you don't believe me, just watch.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, let us power your dreams with the Xbox Showcase at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Wrestling Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day, and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
That's right. That's all the content we have, and I will let you know that we are planning on doing not just a PLE Patrol for the Saturday night's main event, but when that quote-unquote Sunday night main event happens, which still go to Sunday Night Heat. It's just the right thing to do. We'll also have you covered there, and we'll let you know if there's any scheduling changes there. We do know that on the 28th, we will see a scheduling change for Wrestling Recap. OM Dynamic has been very, very respectful to allow me to go on longer and do that watch party. So thank you to him. We will also be kicking off next week the next episode of the Chris Bears podcast. That's right. If you were waiting for the reveal of what we're going to be talking about next week, you're in luck. Next week, we got you with episode 133, Father Time. Why? Because it's Father's Day. So we're going to get you settled. Might even see Little Bear come on screen. We don't know. We'll find out. But that'll be that. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of fun. I might even talk about the fathers of WWE next week and just talk a little bit more about, what they do. And I mentioned that because this past week we saw an episode of Undertaker's podcast, 6 Feet Under with Rey Mysterio, and the news that his daughter Aaliyah has been getting her feet wet at the Performance Center and could be pursuing a career with WWE or just in pro wrestling at that. So very cool stuff. But that'll be next week. This was episode 132. One Direction. We talked a little about what I would do to change WWE and say, okay, let's slash one of the men's tag team titles and let's then focus in on what we do have. And that would be a very great way of adding to the tag team division and making it matter again. I then suggested an ulterior opportunity to produce your King and Queen of the Ring tournaments, as well as share some ideas over the Bloodline, LA Knight, and even Judgment Day individuals. I may end up doing something like this again, so please let me know if there's anyone you would like me to go to. Now, this is the time of the show where I'm going to be rating out on the Twitch side. So if there's anyone you want us to raid to, let us know. Put that in the comments. But until then, this has been episode 132, One Direction of the Chris Bears podcast. Thank you for letting me in. And please, if you have any wanting to check out any of my socials, you can always check out my link tree or even go to turnbucklestudios.org/hosts. You can find me there. Please check out the Chris Bears podcast on Spotify and all of the platforms. And if you haven't, like, follow, subscribe, because it definitely helps the channel. We will now be rating on the Twitch side of things to Bubbles the Dev. So go say hi and let him know that the Chris Bears podcast sent you. For everyone else, please be yourself, be happy, and be healthy. Because at the end of the day,
rip through the clouds.